all of us.
All right.
Hey! Good evening and welcome to the Farmville Board of Commissioners December meeting held tonight on November the 30th. We have Commissioner Hobbs joining us by telephone. Commissioner Hobbs, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And we have Mayor Moore also joining us by telephone. Mayor Moore, are you there?
I am. Thank you for allowing me to participate this way tonight.
We're glad to have both of you. And by virtue of my position as Mayor Pro Tem, I will be conducting the meeting and will hope to do so in the efficiency and professionalism that our mayor normally does that. That being said, we'll ask Paul Ellis to lead us in the invocation and followed up by Brenda Elks leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone will stand with Paul Ellis. Thank you,
Let
Paul.
us pray. Father, we come before your throne of grace, giving thanks for all the many blessings you are giving each of us. We're especially thankful to live in a country where we are free to worship as we choose and to govern ourselves without fear of persecution. Father, we thank you so much for our town, our elected officials, and our town staff. We ask that you bless this meeting tonight. May each word spoken and action taken be pleasing in your sight. We ask that you lead, guide, and direct us all in our daily lives. Now, Lord, we give your name the honor, the praise, and the glory for all things. It is in your Son's holy name that we humbly pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis and Commissioner Elks. Now we move down to section citizens presentations. I have before me a list of those signed up. We have one person who signed up for a citizen presentation tonight. That's Stephen Hardy Brass. Stephen, we'd ask you to come forward, state your name and address, and please remember we try and limit these presentations to 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Pro Tem, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, and other people joining us virtually. I hope you're all well and had a nice Thanksgiving. I come to you tonight with an interesting dilemma or situation. 30 years ago, this government, under President then the first Bush, passed the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was a civil rights act ensuring equal access for those of us who have disabilities or may have disabilities or have limitations. And I want to bring us not only this awareness of it, this is a 30-year-old civil rights law, but recently I was asked to serve on, and I've been serving for the last few months along with a representative from the town, on the steering committee for the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, or CTP, for the entire county of Pitt. In the process of doing that, one of the things we were tasked at looking at is all the transportation issues, and that's rail, aviation, boating, cars, bikes, pedestrians, etc. And I bring up the civil rights issue because in delving into this comprehensive transportation, we learned that the ADA required all municipalities or legal entities that had 50 people employed, whether it's part-time, seasonal, or full-time, to actually have a transition plan in place within like a year and a half. So January 26th of 1992, all towns were required to do this. Come to find out that we are unable to locate a single town or county in Pitt County that actually complied with the civil rights law. So we're looking at these issues and it's opening up some interesting things, but this involves curb cuts, ramps, pedestrian crosswalks, pedestrian light signals, making sure that people with disabilities have accessible parking lots, programs, etc. So under Title II, and I have some handouts and I can email you more and what have you, it'd be interesting to be making sure that the transition plan that was required 30 years ago is put on the commissioner's schedule, or this is located if it actually was done. To the best of my ability, working with Mr. Oakes, we haven't been able to find one yet for Farmville. So we're looking at this as a county issue, as well as a municipality issue, and making sure that these things are done so you don't risk losing federal funding or have to go back, or I guess you do have to go back and retrofit for the last 30 years if anywhere roads been paved or fundamentally altered to make sure those ramps are in place. So I hope that at your upcoming retreat, and you're planning for that, you'll consider putting this on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy Brass. Seeing no other citizen presentations, we'll move along to the town manager's comments. Manager Hodgkins.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Smith and members of the board. Just had a couple of things. I mentioned last meeting that we've been working with the Pitt County Health Department to put together a flu shot clinic. And as of today, we have worked out a clinic on December 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the community center. And we'll be publicizing that, but that will be a free flu shot clinic. We're also we've tentatively asked for the date of the 16th, the following Wednesday as well, but they haven't gotten back to us or haven't confirmed that one. But the 9th has been confirmed, and we'll be publicizing that for anyone who wants to get a flu shot here in town. They'll be administered by the health department, so that's good news. The other item I wanted to mention was, and I sent out an email, I think a week or two ago, we have a new Parks and Recreation Director, and her name is Diane White, and she is here. Please stand, she's right there on the front row. Diane comes to us from Pitt County Schools, where she worked with the Communities and Schools program, which is the office that deals with the facilities like ball fields, gyms, things like that, among other things. And also they do recreation programs for towns in the county, and the county itself, but towns in the county that do not have their own recreation programs. So we've worked closely with her office in the past, so our recreation staff are familiar with her office and have even worked with her in the past. So she has a wealth of experience, and we're very happy to have her. Today is her first day. So hope you all welcome to get to know Diane is here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our town manager? Recreation Director White, thank you. We're glad to have you on board. Welcome to the town of Farmville. I guess you've been here before, know us well, but we're excited to have you officially on board. Thank you very much. Moving along on our agenda brings us to item number F, financial report. The package is enclosed in each one of the commissioners' agenda. We have our financial officer here, Ms. Johnson. Does anyone have any questions to address to her? All right, thank you very much. We'll move along to item number G, which is changes and additions to and deletions to the agenda. Does any of the commissioners have a change, addition, or deletion to our agenda? Commissioner Hobbs, are you there? Do you have anything? Oh, okay, just checking with you. Very good. That being said, we will move along to our first public hearing. I would assume
They need to vote on approving the agenda.
Excuse me, thank you very much. Given that, we have before us no changes. Do we have a motion to that extent?
I make a motion we approve the agenda as printed.
We have a motion from Commissioner Dixon that we accept the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, so we accept the agenda as proposed. Thank you, David. That brings us to item H, which I think, is that you, Justin? Public hearing regarding ordinance to amend Chapter 157 of the Code of Ordinances to amend the official zoning map and to rezone the property on East Wilson Street.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. The item before you for the public hearing is mentioned. This is a rezoning request to rezone 4 parcels along East Wilson Street. These are parcels 77836, which is a 9.39 acre parcel, and then the 3 smaller adjacent parcels, parcels 77383, 77384, and 77385, which are all about a half acre or less directly adjoining the larger property. The request is to rezone these properties from the existing zoning RA 20, which is a residential agricultural 20, to R8 residential. And the parcels are currently, as mentioned, on RA 20, which, in both of these zoning classifications would allow for single-family residential, which is the future plan for this location. This is the future Dalton's Cove subdivision. The difference between these two districts is that the RA 20 requires a 20,000 square foot minimum lot, whereas the R8 residential requires a minimum of 8,000 square feet. So what we're essentially looking at doing here is we've, the town's already received the preliminary plat that had been submitted and approved, a few years back, and we're getting ready to go through the final plat process for phase 1 of the Dalton's Cove subdivision. As we're going through that process, we realized that at some point along the way there was, an oversight somewhere with the zoning for a couple of the parcels that are remaining, the 4 that are subject to the rezoning here this evening. I believe there's the thought that these parcels are already zoned R8, as the neighboring parcel that will also be a part of this larger subdivision are already zoned R8. So what this rezoning request is looking to do tonight would be to bring these 4 parcels into compliance, and bring them into the R8, so that way the lots as they've been proposed for the Dalton's Cove subdivision would meet the ordinance requirements of having a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet. So the mention as far as the consistency with our existing plans, the proposed amendment, while it's not consistent with the comprehensive land use plan, which still has this section labeled as agriculture, it is consistent with the town's zoning ordinance and the fact that all development of the parcels would be subject to site plan requirements of section 157.072 of the zoning ordinance. This would include any setbacks, parking, site coverage, and landscaping, screening, and other developmental criteria. Additionally, the character of the area is well suited for single-family development. As I mentioned, even though the existing land use plan does have these parcels listed as agriculture, as I mentioned, the adjacent parcels next to this are zoned R8 already, and the plans already that have been submitted for both the preliminary and final plat would have these all of these parcels in compliance with the requested R8 zoning designation.
All right, is that it? Thank you, Justin. Any commissioners have any questions of Mr. Oakes? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I declare the public hearing open, and anyone who wishes to speak to this matter, please make themselves known, and we will give them a few minutes. Anyone that would like to address this situation? Yes, ma'am. Please, when you come forward, state your name and address, and try and limit to 3 to 5 minutes, please.
Catherine Cotton, 3421 East Wilson. I just have some general questions I'm sure that you'll be able to address. The R8 zoning is for single family only rather than for multifamily dwellings or anything like that. I know that there's a lot of drainage issues in that area, and I wanted to be sure that those would be addressed appropriately, as I'm sure they will, but would like to be reassured. And just generally, what is the plan for that area in terms of construction?
Justin, can you address those issues?
Yes, sir. So for the first question, as far as the requirements or allowed uses in the R8, it is just single-family housing. Multifamily housing could possibly be allowed, but that would have to go before the Board of Adjustment. That would not be a use allowed by right. So if there were to be any proposed multi-use or multifamily housing, that would have to go before the Board of Adjustment to be approved. However, that being said, the preliminary plats and the final plats that have been submitted, there would have to be, significant reworks of those, if they were to, make changes and decide to go the route of multifamily. But no, that would have to go both back through the plat process as well as get approval from the Board of Adjustment. They would not be able to have multifamily housing as a use by right in the R8 district. As far as the second question, I believe was the drainage question. As a part, initially this subdivision was drawn up, I believe, starting around 2008. And in the time between then and now, there have been some additional requirements by State Environmental Office that has required a retention pond be included as a part of the development. That retention pond's actually already been put in place. So that will help with the drainage issues in the area. All the drainage would go to this retention pond to prevent some drainage issues for neighboring properties in the area. And finally, as far as the construction plan, what we do know right now is that the plan would be to, this month, they would begin to install the infrastructure in place, utility infrastructure, with the plan of taking the final plat for approval to the planning board and to the board of commissioners early in 2021. At that point, once that's in place, once the final plat has been approved by the town, the developers can then begin to move forward with submitting building plans. We have received building plans for the first spec house that would go up. And that would be approved here pending the rezoning. But right now the initial is to have 13 houses as a part of phase 1. I'm not sure about the future schedule for additional phases, but the initial phase would be 13 properties. They're going in where the road cutout has already been done a few months ago, right there at the kind of split of Wilson Street and Grimmersburg.
Does that address your questions? Thank you. Are there any other people that would like to be heard? In that case, hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Do we vote on this?
Yeah. I got a few questions.
Okay, yeah. Was there any discussion from the commissioners?
Dustin, do you have a copy of the plan with you?
I do not have a copy with me. I do have one in my office, but I don't have one right on hand.
How much smaller would we've seen the plan a few times before. How much smaller would the lots be in the neighborhood if we rezoned R8 than if we kept them to RA20?
So if I understand your question correctly, what was submitted as a part of the preliminary plat and would be included in the final plat, none of those properties would meet the RA20 designation because the RA20 required the minimum 20,000 square foot. Right now, the largest property as a part of phase 1 is about 17,000 square feet, but 9 of the 13 parcels that would be as a part of phase 1 or less than 15,000 square feet. So it actually would not even meet the R15 designation. That's why we made the recommendation for R8, because the majority of the lots, I believe it was a total of almost 36 out of 43 of the grand total of the full preliminary plat do not meet the 15,000 square foot.
Justin, could you share with the information with the commissioners what you told me about? I asked Justin about the size of the lots in Dalton's Cove and compared them to the average size in Planter's Walk and Charter Oaks, and that was interesting to know.
Sure, yeah. So for phase 1 of Dalton's Cove, the average lot size is 14,113 square feet. And this number's a little inflated. Most of the lots, 9 of the 13 lots, are around about 12 to 13,000. There are a couple that are right around just a little over 15,000, so that skews that number somewhat. But the majority of that, as well as I mentioned, only 6 of the 43 total lots in the overall development or over 15,000 square feet. In comparison, in Planter's Walk, you're looking at about your minimum being 15,000. The largest is about 18,000 square feet in Planter's Walk. Charter Oaks, for example.
Justin, what was the average for Planter's Walk?
We weren't able to get an exact average. This was just looking roughly at the measurements included on Opus. The minimum was around 15,000. It went as high as 18,000 in Charter Oak or in Planter's Walk.
All right.
And for Charter Oaks, minimum was around 16,000 square feet, and that went up as high as an acre and a half half acre in Charter Oaks.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Oaks?
Do we not have the Did we do away with the R12 zoning?
Yes.
Could we bring back the R12 zoning?
We've not brought back the R12 zoning. I guess that was done away with, I believe, in 2018, just before my arrival. This, probably would be well suited as an R12, but based off our available zoning districts that we have right now, the R8 would be, the most apt for this, just based off of the lot dimensions and what has been submitted.
How long would it take us to reactivate the R12 zoning district?
At least a couple months with advertisement requirements. Not to mention you're gonna have to re-advertise, most likely to, then accompany all of the parcels that you rezoned a couple of years ago. And I don't know the exact number of that. I know, David, I think you were dealing with that at the time, but I know there was a number of parcels that had to make that transition.
Would any lots under the proposed preliminary plan be less than 12,000 square feet?
No.
Can we have a 12,000 square foot minimum lot overlay in an R8 zoning district?
I would have to go look at that. I'm not 100% sure I could, report back to you on that. I'm not sure how much that would affect, otherwise, but I could certainly look into that.
I know we're not party to that or this thing, but I would assume that the developer would have some restrictive covenants that they would, like house size, minimum house size, things like that. They may already have something like that. I don't know, we're not, like, the town wouldn't be party to it, but we might be able to inquire about what might be in their covenants. And encourage, I don't know, I'm looking from a legal standpoint. Yeah.
How about the average lot size in phase 2 and phase 3?
Looking at right now what has been submitted on preliminary, I don't have the exact number for phases 2 and 3, but I will say that in looking at those, there are, doing quick math here, of the remaining 30 parcels in the final 2 phases, there would be only 3 that would be greater than 15,000. So the majority of those are going to be around the 12 and 13,000 square foot range. I don't have that exact number on me at the time, but the majority, the largest lots that are going to be included in this subdivision are actually going to be a part of phase 1, the preliminary, based off the final plat map that they had submitted to us. There are a couple in there that are in this 15 to 16 range, but as you go into future phases 2 and potentially 3, all of those lots generally stay much closer to the 12 to 13,000 square foot range.
Where is on the map? I don't have a map that's got the different phases on it, I don't think. Where is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3?
So the maps that you would have in your packet this evening for the rezoning would not show those, but just to try to give you a rough idea, if you look at this map here that included the highlighted parcels. The parcels that are highlighted, these are the ones that are subject to the rezoning tonight. These are all a part of phase 1. And if you look,
Which, I mean, I got fogged up glasses and can't help understand.
so parcel 77836, that's the large highlighted parcel on this map. That and then the 3 adjacent to the right of those are your parcels for phase 1. That's where you've seen some of the land grading as well as the road cutout already there in place. That is phase 1. The adjacent parcel 79035 to the left of that on the map, that would be where your future phases would be at. And again, we haven't received anything as far as like showing how many lots will be as a part of the future phases. We received the preliminary plat that was submitted in 2017 that showed the entire subdivision, but the only additional map we've received is the final plat that would be for phase 1. As I mentioned, those would be a part of those parcels that have been highlighted on this map in your packet this evening.
I think the original plat for the subdivision was 42, well, 43, and then they had to take one out because of the retention pond.
So they still have exactly the same number of lots as they did in the original plat or whatever it is?
If you go back to 2008, there's reduced from them, but the preliminary plat that was brought back to the town in 2017, what they're planning now is similar to that. It was the requirement of the retention pond somewhere around the 2013-14 timeframe that caused the reduction in lots and caused them to really have to go back to the drawing board on the preliminary plat that was submitted in 2017.
As I recall, they lost one lot and they shaved a little bit off of another, the back of another to do the pond. But that's in phase one.
And Justin, drainage was also brought up. All the constraints regarding drainage are controlled by the state?
Yeah, the state has to give the approval on the drainage as well as the retention pond that was put into place, and I believe we've received all of the approvals now from the state on that. And as we mentioned, a lot of the drainage concerns will be resolved with the drainage pond that has already been put into place. That's if you go out there now and look at the site, that's actually if you're facing the site, it is directly adjacent to just on the other side of the ditch there from Providence Church.
What happens if they get half, or we get through completion of phase one and there's a drainage problem? Will the state come back in and readjust their requirements?
That would probably be more of a rich question. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure about that as far as the state coming back in on that.
Does the state, did they take care of the drainage too? I often hear like the Public Works Department here talking about drainage issues, and usually I don't see anybody from the state cleaning the storm sewers out or anything like that. But in this case, since the state's governing it, are they the ones who are out there actually managing the stormwater runoff too?
My understanding from looking at the plat is that the homeowners association would be responsible for the maintenance of the retention pond. So as far as that goes, as far as coming and managing any additional, as far as the sewage, I'm not sure. I don't believe the state would be involved in that. I'm not sure that would become the town's responsibility or not, but I know as far as the maintenance of the retention pond, that responsibility would fall on the homeowners association.
So to answer, kind of follow up on Bert's comment and Ms. Cotton's question, there'd be no scenario whatsoever where the town was called to handle any kind of drainage issue out there. It would always be the state or the homeowners association.
Not 100% sure. I don't want to answer inaccurately, but I know as far as any kind of issues with the retention pond, I believe those would go back to the state as far as any issues with retention ponds.
If the, as I understand it, if the approved plan is not installed per approved plans, if the system's not installed correctly, then the state would come in and force compliance with the plans. But as far as if the system didn't work, and maybe that's the question that you're asking, I'm not sure. I think the state could come in, but I don't know that. I don't know of a case where that's happened, but I mean, it could happen. But now the detention pond, for sure, the state monitors that and makes sure that's being maintained correctly.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Dixon, you okay? Commissioner Hobbs? Okay. In that case, given no more further questions, I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
I think, and I kind of always feel this way, we certainly want to encourage progress, but we never want to encourage progress at the risk of what we already have. And I think we're being asked to consider a 60% reduction in minimum lot size, and that's not an easy decision. And certainly not easier when we don't have complete information.
So, are you
I'm just
Proposing
one
we
out of
get-
5.
Pardon?
I said I'm just 1 out of 5.
Building is not my expertise, so I have to go along with what we're told. And so with Jamin having questions about it, he is a builder and he knows a lot more about it than I do, and I'm gonna trust his judgment to lead me in the right direction.
Okay.
And that's just being honest.
And just for the record, I'm not a builder. But
Now, you said a 60% decrease in lot size?
20,000 square feet to 8,000 square feet is, I might be wrong at 60, but it's a lot.
Well, that's just from the R8 from the R20 to the R8, but their original lot size is still basically the same as their original proposal.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the lot size has not changed from what they had originally presented as a part of their preliminary plat. The issue was that the parcels in which these, or the parcels that are there currently as they, stand now, are not the correct zoning classification based off of the proposed parcel size. But no, their parcel size that they proposed from their additional preliminary plat to now, those have not changed.
Then I think if they aren't changing their lot size, we just keep our classification like we had it.
Our classification, though, does not meet the issue was that the parcels need to be rezoned so that we can come, because currently, as it stands, if they were to submit plans to build on these lots as they are proposed, they wouldn't meet the zoning requirements, because right now, these parcels would be requiring a minimum 20,000 square foot. What they had proposed initially was, anywhere from that, 12 to potentially 15, but any of those would not meet the R20 standards. So the purpose of the rezoning would be to bring it into compliance so that when they did submit, they wouldn't be submitting non-compliant building plans, because we would not be able to issue any permits for construction there, because they would be trying to submit something on a non-compliant lot.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, and just this is to my little investigation. Apparently, they thought that this whole parcel, or both these parcels, there's 2 large parcels back there in the proposed Dalton's Cove areas. The one that's 79035 and then 77836. And apparently there was an understanding that it had all been rezoned from R20 to R8. And only recently, when you got into the process, did they discover that half of it had been rezoned to R8 and the other half had not been rezoned to R8.
79, that's correct. 79035 already had an existing, I don't even believe there was a rezoning involved, and David can correct me if I'm wrong, but 79035 already had an R8 zoning designation. I believe there was the assumption that the remaining parcels, 77836, as well as the remaining 3 smaller ones, also had that R8 designation. That's why the rezoning did not take place at that time. That was something that when we started going through the process, I was able to catch and notify them of. So before we can review, because they're ready to move forward with submitting a final plat for phase 1, but right now we can't move forward with the final plat until the zoning classification for the lots that would be involved in phase 1 or in compliance based off of the minimum building lot dimensions.
So just because I'm 79035, which as I understand it is some combination of phase 1, 2, or 3,
Correct.
is already R8.
That's right.
They're just asking for the other big one of 77836 and then the 3 little ones to be rezoned.
That's correct. Yeah, those other parcels, the 3 or 4 under consideration tonight are all RA20. My belief is that if they had realized this initially early in the process, they would have initiated this rezoning request at that time. Like I said, I believe this was just simply a situation where they assumed that the property already had the R8 designation and just did not realize that until they got further down the line in this.
Should we not, if the town maybe have caught that also?
Again, I kind of inherited this as before my time, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to speculate as to what happened, with this, because a lot of this involved around 17, so I'm not sure exactly what happened with this, how it was missed, so
Okay.
purely speculation.
Yeah, good point.
Could you get I always hate making a decision on something that I don't understand. Could you get a copy of the map by the end of the meeting so we could see what we're talking about? Like you have one
For
in
phase
Rochester or
one?
something?
For phase one?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can run that. I've got it in my office, yeah.
That would certainly help me out a lot.
Sure, I can do that.
Shall we table this and come back to it after you get the map, and then we'll move on? Is that in order? I've never encountered anything like this in my short tenure here, so I don't know. Okay, so we will,
I'll make a motion that we table this until further down into the meeting. Is that
any,
okay, Chris, or is that too broad?
so we have a motion on the table to table this until Justin gets back with the additional maps for consideration. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Justin. So we'll move along on our agenda, get back to that. Items for discussion or action. First item is ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 budget ordinance police grants. I assume that would be Officer Spencer or,
Major Spencer.
pardon?
Major.
Spencer, excuse me, or Chief Green.
Isn't that just gonna be the money that's moving? Yeah. It's basically just two grants that we got from, our animal control officer put in for, and it's a total of $1,500. One was $1,000, and one was $500, and it's just gonna be put back in our. We've got to allocate those funds for a specific thing, like medical. So it's just gonna be put back in our account.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Do we need a motion for that? I'll make a motion that we add these funds back to the 2020-2021 budget.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Hobbs, did you vote? Aye. Okay, thank you. Excuse me, just checking. All right, next consideration is the ordinance amending fiscal year 2021 budget ordinance for state fire grant.
Is this the same thing, Amy, basically?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Same thing?
They got the same fire department for it, so this is just putting money back in the fire department where they spend it.
Okay, so we have this on the floor. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion that we approve putting this money back into the fire budget for the 2020-2021 calendar year.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Elks to move these monies into the 2021 budget for the state fire, for the fire department. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Hobbs? Okay. Any opposed? With ayes have it, the ordinance is approved. Next item is the appointment for the Library Board, Advisory Board. Alma Hobbs for, you have that, Commissioner, Town Manager?
Yes, sir. This was really an oversight. Most of our boards have elected official liaisons to the board, where this board designates one of their own to serve as an ex officio member on a citizen board. And the board, or this Board of Commissioners did on January 6th of this year designate Commissioner Hobbs as the liaison to the Library Advisory Board. However, in looking through the ordinance, we discovered that actually the Library Board operates a little bit differently, and that they actually have they do have a elected official as a member, but it's a full voting member. It's not ex officio, and it has a set term. And Mayor Moore, when he became mayor, stepped down from that committee, and Commissioner Hobbs took his place. So this is just sort of cleaning up that matter. She's been attending the meetings faithfully, and we just need to sort of make it official by appointing her officially as a board member, voting member, with the same term that she was already going to serve anyway. So.
All right, thank you for your explanation. So we have an appointment for consideration of Alma Hobbs to the Library Advisory Board. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we appoint Alma Hobbs to the Library Advisory Board.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dixon to appoint Alma Hobbs to the Library Advisory Board. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Commissioner Hobbs. The next, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the cemetery fee schedule revision. Do you have that? Who?
Do you want, I mean, I'll take it or you take it, Wes, whatever you want to do. Okay, I mean, it's a follow-up to last.
Follow-up from
Last
Wes Thomas, thank you.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? Look, I'd like to just see it go for, I like option 2. In your paperwork you should see, option 2 still gives a benefit to the tax-paying citizen at $400, and then a non-citizen of Farmville gets it at $500, and then have a $100 transfer fee. I've always thought that the $400 and $850 was a big gap. And we got people just like, if you think about the homes right outside, I mean, like right across from the high school, basically. Those are right outside our city limits. Now, yes, I believe a citizen should have a better benefit, you know, for paying taxes, but also those same people do work in our economy. They feed our economy. They go to school here, church here. And I go out there and try to sell these plots, and I hate trying to sell a plot to somebody who does everything in Farmville at $850 when in-town rate's $400. And then what happens is, if they know somebody, or if they have a family member, they get that family member to go buy the plot at the in-town rate. Then there's a transfer of deed, and right now we only have a $25 transfer fee. So what happens is, if somebody knows somebody, they don't pay the $850 anyway. They end up paying the $400, and they pay a $25 transfer fee. So I'd like to see it just for, I would like to see it go $400, stay $400 for the taxpayer, and just be reduced from $850 to $500 or $550. I didn't have that in the option, and then just make your transfer fee cover the gap. So there's no benefit for doing that. There's no benefit for getting a citizen to buy it for you if the transfer fee will cover the gap. So I'd like to see option 2, or just a reduction. I leave it up to this board what you think it should be under $850, and then y'all can keep it at $850. I would prefer it to come down. I meet these families at the cemetery all the time. They're already dealing with the sadness of loss, and then I'm sitting there saying, you know, they're asking me how much it's going to cost, and they've heard that so-and-so $400, and I tell them $850, and their jaw drops. I've had many times where they said, well, I wanted to buy 2, one for me and my husband, you know, but I think I can only buy 1 now. And that just tears me up to have to do that. I understand it's business, but I think that I did some research on all the surrounding areas, and some places just have a set fee for just no matter what, it's one fee. Talking to Commissioner Dixon, I do agree that the taxpayer, the citizen, should, you know, have some benefit for being a tax-paying citizen. I do feel that the $850 is a big jump. And like I said, rarely do they pay $850 because they find somebody else in town to purchase it for them, and then we transfer the deed for $25. So I'm just asking for whatever y'all see to be the best option, but I like option number 2 from your paperwork.
Okay, we don't have
Yeah.
option number 2 in front of us, Wes. So
You
will
don't?
tell
Okay.
me- Yeah, will you tell me what that is? I saved my minutes at home. Will
Okay.
you tell me what that is again?
Option 2 was $400 is what it currently is already, $400 for the citizen, for the in-town. And then $500 for out of town. And then the transfer fee being $100. So there's no benefit for getting somebody to purchase it for you at a lesser rate.
Okay, so let me, just so I understand this. So say, for example, that if my aunt from Kansas City decides to come here and buy plots, she doesn't live here, it would cost her $500 and then she has to also pay $100 transfer? Oh,
No.
only if she got me to buy them for her?
Right, if she got you to buy it for her,
Gotcha.
then there'd be a $100 transfer fee.
Okay, okay.
And that just keeps it, there's no benefit for having somebody buy it for you, you know, if you're gonna have to pay the transfer fee anyway. That's what I was trying to do. Right now, it's a heck of a benefit to have somebody buy it for you and you pay $25. You're saving 400 and, I think, you're saving over $400, yeah.
Right, okay.
How do you anticipate this would impact the revenue from cemetery fees? Would it
There
stay
is
the
no revenue for cemeteries, I can tell you that right now. I would like to say that there's revenue, but the cost of maintaining 3 municipal cemeteries, there is no revenue, you're not making anything. We're just barely, you know, it's perpetual care funds that we have to keep these things up.
Right.
And we're not making any money off cemeteries.
No, but I mean, you know, I mean, as opposed to if you collect from selling lots $5,000 a year, is this going to stay at basically $5,000, or do you think it'll go down or up or stay the same? I mean, I think that the concern is there that we basically stay the same.
I think that I think it's going to stay the same, and there'll be a lot less paperwork in the office. Yeah, honestly, because I'm telling you, rarely do we sell them at $850. So I'm you know. And I know we've addressed this before, and we kept it the same, and if you choose to keep it the same tonight, I'll respect that decision. But I really think there's something, this needs to be looked into, and, you know. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
How many lots a year would you say, I mean, are we talking one a month, or?
Oh, no, we're normally doing anywhere between, and it's going to sound, I mean, it may sound terrible to everybody, but we're doing anywhere between 7 and 10 graves a month. That's 3 cemeteries. That's Forest Hills, Sunset Memorial, and Hollywood. But we average, we've got 2 graves this Wednesday. I mean, that just came in today. So it's, you know, and some of them have already bought lots. That's another thing. Some of the people, when we bury somebody, they may have had it in their family. They may have had the deed for 30 years. So that's what I'm saying. We're digging, but there's not a lot of revenue. The revenue was years back. So like I said, you know, if somebody passes and they have 20, well, they're not allowed to have that many, but if they have 10 lots, we're going to open and close. There's a cost for that. But what I'm saying is, you know, we're not selling plots.
My family has like 6.
Right.
They've been there for 25 years.
So like the ones we're doing for Wednesday, one of them was bought 20 years ago, and one I'm selling tomorrow. I'll sell a plot tomorrow. And, you know, but there's not a lot. I mean, we're burying between 7 and 10 people a month in the three cemeteries, but we're not selling that many plots per month.
Right. And out of those, say, if you're selling 3 of them, out of that, how many of those are out of town people?
Sunset, it seems to be a lot. That happens a lot in Sunset. We have a lot of people from out of town that do get buried in Sunset. Not as much in Hollywood, and then Forest Hills is almost full. I mean, right there, there's nothing to sell in Forest Hills. That's another thing I was saying. We may bury somebody in Forest Hills, but there's no sale of a plot there. Those plots are completely sold out. That's our oldest cemetery, and it's sold out. To answer your question, probably 50-50, I would say. But that's not but we're really, like I said,
I know.
it doesn't work that way, because those out-of-towners, we did it just the other day. We sold 4 plots in Sunset, and we sold them at in-town rate because they were bought, and then we're going to transfer them to this family. Right. So.
Any further questions?
I don't have any other questions, but personally, I'm very comfortable with Plan B. I don't have any issues at all with option B.
And I had said before, I told the town manager, and I've told a few of you guys that I just came, that price seems fair to me. If y'all thought it needed to be $600, if you want to have a better benefit for y'all can come up with a fee. I just think there needs to be a reduction from the $850. I feel that strongly.
And you think also that the transfer fee ought to equal the difference
Ought to equal the
between
difference.
in-town and the out-of-town?
Because then there's no benefit for having somebody else do it for you.
$400 and $600 and a $200 transfer fee, or
That would be
whatever
fine.
it is.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Whatever y'all are comfortable with, I just think there should be a reduction from the $850.
Well, what was in here, and this may be the confusion, and you know, part of it, I guess, on me, but the 2 things that I understood were problems were obviously the people coming in and buying things, using in-town folks to buy for out of town. So the idea was possibly having a uniform fee for everyone. You didn't have to worry about someone being in town or out of town. And also eliminate, but on the other hand, side, I guess it's a $25 transfer fee now, just eliminating the transfer fee. So everybody pays the same. You don't have to, nobody has to come in and lie about where they live. $400 is awfully cheap. I'll just say that. Working in several towns that had cemeteries, I haven't seen that price in 20 years probably. So it's very economical, but Wes is totally right. Cemeteries are losing business financially. I mean, we don't make any money.
Right.
And it's
Just a
all,
service.
it's totally unpredictable too, because one year we'll get, $40,000 in revenue, next year we'll get $60,000 in revenue. And that sounds like a lot, but given what we all have to do, that's really not enough to really cover our costs or do very much.
Can I add a little bit to this? If you remember, I know Shaq, you remember when you were looking at, I forget what in-town prices were and out of town, but we were filling up the cemeteries with people coming outside because we were so cheap. We came to you guys and you raised it to the current rate, 408 I believe it was. I personally don't think you need to go down any with it. I think you need to go up with this in-town. And maybe make it all 600 if you want to. But Wes was talking about perpetual care. The citizens of Farmville will be responsible for keeping those cemeteries up. And perpetual care means forever and ever and ever, amen, until Jesus Christ comes back. So at some point in time, we're going to run out of cemetery space. Wes can tell you, it's getting shrinking up quickly, isn't it?
It is.
So I think if anything, you need to raise it. If you want to make it universal, raise it to $600 for everybody. And I personally think the in-town people should get a little break because we all pay taxes versus people outside of town. But at the time when we raised it before, everybody was coming over here to buy it because they couldn't. In fact, we were higher than what's the Crystal on that unit. So we were higher than them, and people would go price them out there. So, we wouldn't go to Farmville and get it. $300 cheaper or whatever it costs a And that's several years ago when you went up to 400.
Is that, we value your thoughts, and thanks for the plug for Jesus Christ. I like that too. I said, we like your thoughts, and thanks for the plug for Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Just so I understand, I like to understand, that cost of that perpetual care, does that come from 100% from taxes, or do we have other sources?
Absolutely. Well, actually, if you buy a plot in a private cemetery, you send so much money up there to where you might can tell it to the state for perfection, so that if something happens, the state can come in and take it over. The town does not send anything to the state. Mm-hmm. All of that money is kept in-house for sale of the lot. So therefore, the town takes over ownership of that, just like right now, as Wes was saying, there's Forest Hills.
Yeah.
They're no one's spoken.
Yeah.
But the taxpayers are still paying to keep that cemetery up and cut grass and, keep the drives clean and all that. And that'll be forever.
If we bring in, if he sells $20,000 worth of lots this year, but we spend $100,000 on cemeteries, that other $80,000 just comes from the taxes.
Absolutely.
We do have a perpetual care fund that's separate,
Yeah.
that is funded by cemetery revenue. So it's not quite that skewed, but it's not a moneymaker, and cemetery's never been a moneymaker. That's why you have to get into all these creative things like, mausoleums and niches for cremains and cremation plots. So we talked about that in the past.
That's a discussion coming to y'all at a future date.
That's where you're gonna have to go to make some money, is the smaller pieces of real estate.
In fact, Danny Turnage and Christopher Turnage both wanted to come and actually present sometime to y'all a presentation on the need to look at mausoleums and not private mausoleum, but us, town, building one and selling like Evergreen and Wilson, because we're running out of space, and that's a fact. And I pray that y'all don't buy any more land to start another one, because that would be a bad deal.
Well, I think that we owe it to our citizens to have somewhere that they can lay their families to rest and not have to sell their arm in order to put them in there. I mean,
And there are times when somebody comes out of state and they don't even think twice about that 850. But there's a lot of times that these people, like I said, they do everything else Farmville other than live right in the city limits, and they church, they grocery shop, school. They're really Farmvillians. They just, But I'm not saying that it should be one rate. I'm fine with an option that shows that there's still a benefit for paying the taxes and being a citizen. I'm fine with that. I just think it should be either closing the gap some.
Wes, what if we approved kind of your idea of whatever, and I gave away my option number 2 a while ago. I wrote a note on it and passed it on. But I think it was $400 and $600 with a $200 transfer fee. But then kind of asked you to we'll give you a little bit of time to come back with some good guesses for us on what kind of revenues we generate in that fund and what kind of yearly costs. So we know our taxes funding 20,000 of it, or they funding 200,000 of it.
Okay.
And maybe help us come up with a more scientific process to, determining the rates. But I like Commissioner Ellison's point to be mindful that the citizens are the ones paying for the care. And I like your point that there's no need for us to swamp ourselves with a mountain of paperwork just to help, because people are going to manipulate the system to get the best price.
All right.
So I definitely support the transfer fee being equal to the difference of the in-town and out-of-town rate.
Right.
All right, very good. Do we have a motion on the floor, or you want to table this until he comes back for?
You just want me to come back with some more information before we make a decision?
I'd like to go ahead and make a decision tonight to help you guys out, but so you're not under the gun to necessarily be here. Not under the gun to be here at the next meeting, but give you what time you need to. I'll make a motion that we maintain the in-town rate of $400, change the out-of-town rate to $600 with a $200 transfer fee, and ask Wes to get back with us in the next few months with some more information.
That seems fair.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Dixon for a $400 in-town fee, a $600 out-of-town fee, and a $200 transfer fee. Any discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Commissioner Hobbs? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, so thank you, Wes, very much for your time. And by the way, while we've got you up here, I just want to say that we as commissioners recognize all the work your department has done to beautify our town for the holidays. You've done an excellent job, and we congratulate you and your entire staff.
Appreciate it. I do have a good staff. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Next item on the agenda, we'll finish our items for discussion and action, and then we'll move back to our public hearing, if that's okay. Is that all right with everyone? Our last item for discussion and/or action is the Board of Commissioners Annual Retreat. Mr. Hodgkins?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you know, for the last several years, we have an annual retreat, typically in mid or late February. And so at this point, we just try to nail down, well, first of all, we find out, are you interested in having one again next year or in 2021? And then secondly, trying to nail down some dates so that we can start making some plans. And in your packet, there's a memo that talks about last year it was Monday and Tuesday, February 24th and 25th. The timing of that does seem to work well with everybody. I think we've either had it that last week or the week before. for the last 7 or 8 years. And so certainly, works well for our staff. It seems to work well for all of you. So I would recommend that we stick to generally the same format and have a day and a half type schedule like we've had in the past, unless you want to do something a little bit different. And that tonight, take a look at your calendars and see if there's some dates that suit your schedule.
So if we did it the same days as last year, we would do it on the 22nd and the 23rd of February. Is that correct?
If it's, you mean
Monday
the
and
same days within the
Monday, February
22nd.
22nd, yeah, but Monday and would be the 22nd and the 23rd.
Right, that would be the same corresponding.
Same corresponding dates as last year. All right, commissioners, any thoughts on that?
That's fine with me.
Or are we all in agreement to have a retreat?
Absolutely, I think we need to.
Absolutely.
And the moderator there on Tuesday.
Right. Okay. So can we have that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we have our 2021 retreat on Monday, February the 22nd, and Tuesday, February the 23rd.
All right. Commissioner Elks has made a motion that we have our annual retreat on February 22nd and 23rd, 2021, under the same format as last year. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it, so we'll look forward to having it on the 22nd and 23rd of February 19, that shows how old I am, 2021. Woo! All right, very good. So that completes our items for discussion and/or action. And we'll go back to our public hearing. Justin, can you bring us the maps as so requested by Commissioner Dixon?
If you guys don't mind, if I can just get these back from you at the end of the night, but if you want a copy after night's over with, I'll be glad to provide one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Basically 12 to 15 lots then in phase one.
What's that?
There's, I didn't.
13 total
13,
for
okay.
phase
Yep.
one.
All right, thank you. There it is.
And while you're reviewing, just to essentially kind of run down briefly some of the major differences between the existing zoning, the RA20 and the R8. As far as the potential uses for properties with the zoning go, these zoning classifications are similar. The only difference being that the only things that you cannot do in the R8 that you can do in the RA20 are agricultural operations, which is really truly the intent of the RA20. These are your larger, obviously 20,000 and above square foot lots. So agricultural uses, as well as public or private cemeteries. You could have those on a lot that's zoned RA20, however, those would not be allowable uses in the R8 district. So those are really the only big differences as far as the uses that could take place in these respective zoning districts. As far as the other differences, a lot of that is to do with lot size and setbacks. Of course, we've already talked about the minimum square footage, but what you're also looking at when you get into your R8, you're looking at shorter distances for your setbacks as well as your minimum lot widths.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at a minimum lot width of 75 feet in an R8 district, whereas opposed if you're at an RA20, you're looking at I believe it's 100-foot minimum lot width. So essentially what's happening is with your RA20, you're really, you're making really, really large lots, which would limit your overall availability of housing on a particular parcel. So those are really your biggest differences are going to be your lot dimensions. And again, 15,000 or 20,000 square foot as opposed to 8,000 square foot minimum. And again, your setback requirements and minimum lot frontage. Those are really your biggest difference. Your uses aren't going to change very much. I mean, these are both still technically residential districts in which single family is allowed. Again, as far as multifamily, even, like I mentioned, multifamily, if you want to even try that in the R8 district, it would have to go before the Board of Adjustment. That would not be a use by right.
Just out of curiosity, the houses along East Wilson Street were probably built long before Farmville even had any zoning requirements. But the houses across the street on the north side of East Wilson, those were built more recently. What were they zoned? What was the zoning ordinances when those houses were built? Do you know?
I believe were they part of would convert it back to R8, I believe, from R12? Yeah. Those were initially, I believe, R12. I think they were a part of the lots that when the R12 zoning district was dissolved back in 2018, they fell back into the R8 based off of the minimum lot requirements.
Okay. So basically, you're looking at something very similar to those.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, what we'd be looking at in terms of the general character in the area would not, as from the existing housing, would not change with the addition here. I mean, you would be looking at similar lot size for this proposed subdivision from what's currently existing along East Wilson that you just mentioned. So.
Right.
Listen, I think the concern that we've all probably heard is, well, my concern would be that our board rezones this to an 8,000 square foot minimum lot requirement, and that the tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock they're in your office with a new plan with 27 houses where 13 houses used to be, because all of a sudden there's 8,000 square foot lots, and we've created a traffic problem and a drainage problem and a population problem and a parking problem and and people say, well, y'all are really stupid, and we just say, yeah, we are. What kind of safeguards are in place so that wouldn't happen?
They would have to go entirely back through the preliminary plat process. What was in place right now, if there are any changes to that, not only, because they haven't gone through the final plat process, all they've gone through officially is preliminary, but before they would be able to do anything, they would have to go back through that preliminary plat process, which involved them going before the planning board, once again. So then back before the Board of Commissioners as well. So yeah, there would be safeguards in place before they would be able to do that. They wouldn't be able to come in and just change the plan as it is. It would have to go back through board review. Additionally, they would have to go back through review processes both with state environmental as well as DOT. So it would have to go back through all of those review channels once again if they were to try to make any changes substantially to the plat.
And the utilities were based on a certain amount of flow too, so the water and sewer extensions are approved by Dean or the state, and so they would have to revise all that.
We have sewer lines that accommodate 13 houses here, not sewer lines that accommodate 28 houses here. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, the sewer lines are oversized, could accommodate more flow, but when you get permits, you get permits for X number of gallons allocated to that development, so that they'd have to reapply for more gallons flow to go in that line.
They would incur some significant time delays.
They would, yeah.
To redraw the plat with smaller lots.
This would be completely back to the drawing board.
Yeah, they'd have to start totally over, and I can't imagine they would.
And then it would still have to come back before us.
Right, you'd have to approve a whole new, it'd have to go through the planning board, it'd be totally new process. Just like we made them do, back from 2008 to 17.
So we can feel, with any realistic certainty, we can feel entirely comfortable that 13 homes zoned RA20 is going to be the exact same as the 13 homes zoned R8.
What they have currently proposed, yes, that would not change. However, we would not be able to approve if the zoning on the properties were still RA20 because it would not meet the requirements of the RA20 as far as lot dimensions.
We don't anticipate any real life changes to the plan. We are almost to a certainty just debating semantics,
Pretty
and
much.
technicalities and paperwork and things like that.
Correct.
You feel comfortable with that judgment, Chris?
Any additional questions or discussion? Okay, we have for let's see, excuse me. About to forget my things to do. Hearing no other comments, I call the public hearing to a close. Thank you, Justin, very much for your time and your maps and your efforts. That being said, what are your thoughts, commissioners?
I feel like we've diligently explored, the possible changes to the landscape and the subdivision, and the impact it's had on the potential impact on the surrounding area. And I'm comfortable approving the zoning change for these 4 parcels to R8 from RA20. And I make that motion that we do that.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Dixon to amend Chapter 157 of the Code of Ordinances to change these properties from R20 to R8. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Commissioner Hobbs. Any opposed? The ayes have it, so thank you very much. Thank you, Justin. All right, having accomplished that, we move for information only to item J on our agenda, Town Employee Service Awards.
The service awards are given out to employees at 5-year intervals. And since we don't have our normal Christmas dinner awards type thing this year, just wanted to, for the record, announce that Jenny Beeman celebrated 5 years with the town. Cindy Stelk, 5 years with the town. Those folks are in finance. Brett Kenyette, 5 years from the police department. Daniel Hawkins, 5 years from the police department. And Melissa Pierce, 5 years from the police department. Then we've got Chris Stokes, 10 years with Parks and Rec, and Doug Brand, 15 years with Electric. So those are the folks who are being recognized for 5-year interval awards this year.
Okay, well, congratulations to each one of those employees. It's a shame that they cannot have the recognition lunch because that's a nice event, but hopefully next year will be much different. Thank you for that,
Yes, sir.
Manager Hodgkins. So that brings us to our citizens' comments again. So if anyone has heard anything or has any questions or wants to address the Board of Commissioners regarding our meeting tonight, please make yourself known and come forward. Okay, hearing none, we'll get ready to close our meeting, but before I do, I will maintain the tradition that our mayor has established, Mayor Moore, and go around to each one of the commissioners for any final comments or thoughts, and I'll start with Commissioner Elks.
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, as most of you know, we cannot have a Christmas parade this year due to the COVID restrictions. So on Sunday night, December the 13th, we're actually going to have what we're calling Home for the Holidays, and people are decorating their houses, getting ready for Christmas, and we're asking for people that would like to be on a map, and we're going to have a map printed up thanks to the Pitt County Planning Board, so that we can give you this map. At some of these homes, they're going to be very peaceful and calm, and some of them are going to be just fabulous with lots of lights and music and everything. At a couple of them, Santa's helpers will be there passing out some candy canes for the kids. And we have one other thing that we're going to do that we're not telling that part yet until we can get it taken care of, but everybody will know next week. If anyone is interested in a map, they can email me and I will email you the map once I have it. We are heavily promoting it on Facebook, on social media, and we'll have some flyers printed up that we'll get out around town too. And that will this year take what we would normally do for the Christmas parade. And this may become an annual tradition as well as our parade if we can get back to that next year thanks to COVID. The other thing is that I know that we at our house did, and a majority of you probably have too, you've gotten a letter from the rescue squad, from Farmville's rescue squad, for their annual fundraiser where they ask for donations. They don't do any other type of fundraising, and so I ask you that you look at your letter, and if you feel you can, to make a donation to Farmville Rescue. And then the last thing that I want to say is, for 28 years, we have had the pleasure of having Donnie Green as in various roles throughout our police department, and ending up his last 15 years as our police chief. Tonight is his last official board meeting night because we do not have one in December, and his retirement date is Friday, December the 18th. And I personally, and as a commissioner, want him to know how much he's appreciated and how much of a difference he's made in our town. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ellis. Thank you for all you do, and I look forward to our informal Christmas parade.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, it'll be fun, and the rescue squad's great, and Chief Green, we're going to miss you. Thank you very much. Is it appropriate for us to stand up and give him a hand? Should we do that? No, you've done a wonderful job. Thank you very much for your commitment to our community. Pardon? Well, yes, would you like to say something?
I will. I just want to say thank you, the board. I asked Freddie, she's in the back, why she came to the board meeting tonight. She said, I came to you first, and I'm going to come to your last. And she still picks on me because my very first board meeting, getting up and talking in front of everybody, I thought I was going to pass out. And so, I would love to say that I've always been the easiest to deal with, but I haven't been. Mr. Hodgson can probably tell you that. But I appreciate everything that the boards have done for me, for the police department, and for the town. We have one of the best communities there is. You couldn't do it without every department with the town of Farmville, not just the police department. But I want to say thank you for everything you've done, and I'm looking forward to whatever's next.
Chief Green, thank you again very much for your years of service, and we really, really do appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll move along to Commissioner Shackerford. Any comments?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Hobbs, are you there? Anything?
Yes, I am, and I would like to say in my spirit of thankfulness and gratefulness, and I want to thank all the town employees for their services to make Farmville function much better for the citizens. And I also want to thank my fellow commissioners for working together to serve the citizens of Farmville, and I'll be remiss if I didn't thank our mayor, for providing outstanding leadership during unprecedented times. And having said all that, and also I want to add my salute to Chief Green for your service to Farmville. And having said that, I just want to wish everyone a blessed holiday with expectation and anticipation that 2021 will bring a sense of normalcy that we can all enjoy. So happy holidays.
Thank you, Commissioner Hobbs. Commissioner Dixon?
I'm glad to see citizens in the gallery tonight and hear citizens' comments. I hope we appreciate everyone's input in the process. We've really got a good staff that looks after our town, makes great decisions. They get challenged sometimes up here in front of us, and sometimes that podium's probably the hot seat, but Paul and Wes and Justin and the guys, the folks who spoke tonight really do an outstanding job and make our decisions a lot easier. We have a great staff, and it's a pleasure to serve with you guys. And it's been said, but I can't overestimate the contribution that Donnie's given to Farmville. He's leaving our town, our police department in just mint condition, and we owe him everything we've ever given him, and more, and he's a fantastic fellow. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Moore, are you there still?
Still here, still here.
Would you like to have any comments?
Well, I certainly would. I look forward to some type of formal presentation from Chief Green in January. I thank you for filling in tonight. I thank the board for their support for the past year. I want to wish a Merry Christmas to everyone. And, the past 250 some days, this is 250 some plus days that maybe they haven't seen me at the town hall except on weekends, and I'm sure that was a great for them. I thank everybody for their prayers, and I look forward to being back in the saddle in just a few days. And I thank you for that, and wish everybody Merry Christmas, and thank you, Commissioner Smith, for filling in tonight. That's a bird for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. We appreciate it. Wish you good health and a quick recovery to your illness. We missed you up here. And that being said, I would just like to echo everything that the commissioner said. We do have a great town. It's because we have great people and we have great employees. And we're just happy to help to work together with everyone else to continue to make this a good town. Ms. White, welcome to our community. We look forward to having you up here some night to be grilled. We're just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and thank you for being here tonight. And is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
We have a motion by Commissioner Elks that we adjourn for the evening. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you in January.